What is up? I'm back finally. Seems like it's been a long time. Maybe it really hasn't been that long, but hopefully y'all guys miss me as much as I have y'all. So I wanted to go this morning, but had a little life get in the way. I hate that. Hopefully one day I can nail down an exact schedule and I always hold to it. But anyway, I told y'all I'd be here tonight to make up for it, and that's what we're doing. So we're going to have a good time as always. What's up, Kelly? What's up, Susan? Um, let's see, who all we got? 44, Glenn Coco. What is up? First time chatter. Yeah, Mystic said to be looking for you. There you are. So it's good to see you in there. And, you know, we got that rule about if you show up once in the chat, you've got to always show up in the chat. So hopefully we'll see you there more. Let's see. Nature's Nectar. If you're still in there, good to see you. Debbie, maybe you can make it. If not, it's all right. Watch it tomorrow. Leave me lots of comments. And you can catch another earlier one. I'm sorry. Nosy Google, I see you were in there. She may have already fell asleep by now. Anyway, look, it is good to see everybody in there. Thank y'all for showing up. And yeah, we got this new Leah files. Everybody seemed to enjoy that the last time. We're gonna head kind of a different direction next week. Just so y'all know. Obviously, we're not leaving the Charlie Kirk thing alone, but I think there's some other really important things, and this has not even got anything to do with elections and influence on our elections and politics. But we have something else I think that's brewing in the background, a little deja vu from, go in 2020. And so I think we're going to, I think maybe we'll talk about that a little bit, at least off and on. And so probably Monday, but first of the week for sure. I want to go over some stuff. I want to do some refreshers, make sure nobody forgets what all we went through back then. And we're gonna try to learn everything we can about this new version that appears to be incoming. When I heard it was on a cruise ship and they had people locked on a cruise ship, on the coast, I was like, yep, here we go again. So anyway, hopefully it won't work out like that, but I know there's always a possibility. We all know that assholes always take advantage when they can. Never let a Never let a good crisis go to waste. That what it was. I think that was Rahm Emanuel, maybe. Anyway, yeah. So, all right, guys. Let's see. Hey, we got Brig in the chat. What is up, Brig? What is up? Good to see you there. Good to see you here. Yeah, come to hang out with the coolest chat on the internet. We all know it is. We got the best people. We got some really cool people hang out there. We always have a good time. So never trust a fart. That's exactly right, Nosy. I don't know that by experience. I've heard, So anyway, without further ado, I'm gonna bring up Miss Leah. I think I'm going to. Yep, there we go. And y'all know the routine. We'll get it fired up here and talk about it here and there. So here we go, guys.
Welcome to episode 2 of the Leah Files. I'm your host, Leah. I am so excited for this one. It's been months in the making, so let's get into it. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Leah. I yap on TikTok and X and follow the money on corruption, fraud, politicians, and current events. I like to think I make follow the money cool and understandable because it can be quite boring, but it is such a beautiful way to look at patterns and establish behavior.
What's up, Elizabeth? Good to see you there in the chat. Good to see you.
And that is what we do. Head over to my Substack if you haven't already and subscribe.
And hey, have not made it over there and subscribed to Leah, please do that. She's doing some really great work. Not too many people can go in depth as much as she has and make it so digestible, put it in such a small, short, compact package. So anyway, I really enjoy her work. Y'all go give her a subscribe, maybe a like and a share and all that good stuff. But first, make sure you subscribe to me. Make sure you like this video and make sure you share this video and all the other ones before her. But then go do her for sure.
Podcast comes out 2 days early for my subscribers there. I am so grateful for all of you. I also do my deep dive articles and assessments over there and show proof sources, everything. And it's just a really great space to share with you all what I'm working on and my investigations. So if you haven't, head over there. We are top rising in politics, and it is my goal to be one of the top 10 in politics, because that would mean that we are making a difference and that we have enough people who care about this to make a difference. Every nonprofit that brings in over $50,000 in revenue a year is required to submit a form called a 990 to the IRS. It basically just says, hey, here's how much we made, here's how much we spent, here's what we spent it on, kind of, and here you go, IRS. Well, halfway down that form is a question that asks, were your financials independently verified, validated, or looked at by an auditor? So
that's always going to be a yes, I'll bet. Just about always going to be a yes.
Someone outside of your organization. And in 2024, USA answered no to this question.
Wow. I'm floored.
An $85 million a year donor-funded organization answered no. They do not have an independent auditor look at their financials. I thought this was strange. September 2nd, 2025. That is the date that Charlie Kirk announced Justin Strife as the COO, moved Tyler Boyer out of that position that he had held since 2017. And he said, hey, I want an independent Doge-like assessment of TPUSA's financials and operations.
Come on, Leah. You got to get it right or you'll get papers. I'm telling you. That's the whole reason that Zach got papers. Zach from Wolves in Finance. It is a Doge-style effort. Get it right. Get it right. It'll save you a lot of trouble in the long run, I promise. A Doge-style effort.
Operations. As somebody who works with CEOs and helps them uncover fraud or figure out if fraud is going on in their organization, what this tells me is that Charlie Kirk sensed something was going on. And Candace Owens brought up on her podcast a few months back that someone had told her he was wondering where all the money went. And as somebody who's gone through the financials over the past few months, I can attest to that. My opinion is that Charlie Kirk, as the CEO of this organization, thought there was fraud going on, period. This is the same behavior that CEOs who hire me have when they ask me to come.
And so there's been a lot of question over this very thing right here about how much Charlie knew. Was Charlie guilty of all this stuff? You know, blah, 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 blah. And look, I have to say, obviously the thought has crossed my mind. I don't want to be, biased in any way. I don't want to just automatically assume things. I want to be open to, any and all possibilities. But at the end of the day, I feel like no. I feel like if he was involved and really knew what was going on, everybody was making money, why take him out? And why ask for the quote-unquote Doge-style effort? In my opinion, he was starting to wise up, and that was to all of the people around him, including his wife, allegedly. But that's just how I feel about it. I feel like he started to figure out that he was being taken on a ride and that he probably couldn't trust much of anybody. Now, like I said, that is just my thoughts on it. It's just how I feel about it. But if everything was going good, everybody was making money and, all of that good stuff, why take him out? Why get him out of the way? Well, maybe he was about to get in the way, and maybe that could not happen. So that's just my thoughts on it. I don't know. I'm a dumbass.
Come and look at what's going on. They're like, something's happening. I get asked a lot in my videos if I think that Charlie Kirk knew what was going on, because we've uncovered a lot of red flags. How a CEO of an organization could have something like this going on and not know. And my opinion is that he did not know this was going on until he asked for the.
There you go. A lot of creators I've heard, they all say the same thing. I just don't see how he could not know. I can. And even though I've not ever been in one of those roles, I really don't know that much about 401c3s or any of that kind of thing. I know that Charlie loved doing his speaking events. He loved doing his college events, and that is what he wanted to do, and he stayed pretty damn busy at it. I mean, what did he say? He traveled like 360 days a year. I mean, that is the whole point in hiring people, especially the leadership roles, that you think you can trust. I mean, you're doing your work. They're supposed to be taking care of the rest. So at the end of the day, if he thought he could trust these people, what would really make him, what would make him really question things? I mean, unless he went to write a check and it bounced. Now, obviously, like I said, I think he was starting to catch on. But I mean, why should he have to do that when he has hired all these people and paying them absorbent amounts of money? I mean, that's their job. So I'm with her. I don't really think he did.
He got a hunch,
and when he found out, I think he was removed, allegedly.
And asked for it. And I don't think that he knew. I think that when you're a CEO.
What's up, Bree, baby? The first time I seen you here, we've got a rule. We got a rule here in the chat. You show up once, we look for you every time. So hopefully you'll follow the rules and you'll be back next time. I appreciate you showing up and being here. We do have a really cool community here. We got the best chat ever. It's just nice and laid back. We just shoot the shit and have a good time.
CEO, you trust
Good.
Your executive board, you trust your leadership, your COO, your CFO to do right by the.
By the way, I have not watched this yet. I tried to listen to it earlier and I was working, and that was an epic fail. So we're seeing this together. That is just should be proof to y'all of just how smart I am compared to her, because she's saying the exact same thing I just said. So anyway, just letting y'all know I didn't cheat. I'm hearing this for the first time too. Great minds think alike.
The organization. And when he.
Hey, Mystic's the best. She's the shit. She's a good one.
Sense that maybe they weren't. He asked for an independent validation of that. And this was the safest way to do it without setting off red flags internally. That is a big key point to this, because what you never want to do in an organization, if you do suspect fraud, is set off red flags, because then they'll be able to move things around, and you don't want to do that. You want to see what's happening. So yeah, I don't think that Charlie Kirk knew, and I do understand why he didn't know, because as a CEO, your job isn't to look at the financials. Your job is to have your CFO brief you on the financials. Your job is to have your COO brief you on the operations and the governance, and all of that works together so that you can set the strategic direction of an organization.
Exactly. Like, you should not have to be a micromanager. You should not have to instruct every single person in the organization on how to do their job, and you should not have to make sure that they are doing their jobs. You should not have to worry about how this and that and the other gets paid, or what kind of, forms have gotten filed. Like, that is why you hire all these executives and all these people under you. So to just say that Charlie Kirk had to have known because he was the CEO, to me, is just not really necessarily the case, especially when you hire these people, like I said, that he thought he could trust. And I think, allegedly, my opinion, I think that he was gravely mistaken, and I think he started to catch on to that. Catching on to, like I said, his circle around him, including his wife, and the bigger circle out around that, like certain nation states that he was really supportive of. So
All right, so what we are going to do is we are going to walk through the audit. What would they have found? Before any audit mean anything, you have to understand the organization in which you're auditing. Because Turning Point USA is not just one organization. No. It's like 6 to 8 that we're going to look at. These 6 entities share a brand. Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk. They share an executive board. They share an address. And over $135 million a year run through all of these entities.
That's a lot of damn money, or at least it is to me.
But on paper, in the eyes of the IRS and the FEC and the SEC, well, they're all just individual entities operating like anyone else would. Each of them have their own reporting standard. Each of them have their own forms and filings. That is by design, in my opinion. That is by design. That is behavior that shows, okay, we're going to have all of these entities for separate purposes. And when you start moving money across them, well, that's where it gets real interesting. Because the money that moves between them, which we'll look at, it changes regulatory category. It dilutes itself. A grant from one TPUSA organization becomes a payment in the other, and it becomes an investment in the third. And by the time you get there, it is all diluted, and it makes it very hard to trace.
It's like a needle in a haystack. To break it down to its most simplest terms, I mean, like they have got it so convoluted, and just about anybody that I know, including Greg Lake, that we collab with a lot. But according to a lot of people, they have said that it is way more complicated, convoluted, and way more confusing than what it needs to be, and more than likely intentionally so. Like she said, makes it hard to figure out what's what.
And I think this is by design, but that's okay because we're very good at what we do, and we've traced a lot. And
Middle Tennessee, Bree, Middle Tennessee. I'm in Barron and Candace country.
And that in itself, that pattern of behavior tells us a story. To see the entire picture, we're going to layer all 6 entities on top of one another and get ready to have your mind blown, people. All right, first I want to look at a very important 16-day calendar window from September 2nd, 2025 till September 18th, 2025. These are going to be very important for the entire series. So I want to lay them out really quick. September 2nd, that's when Charlie Kirk sent out the memo, basically removing Tyler Boyer, announcing Justin Strife as the COO, asking for that Doge-like.
And they all played that down, but he was the COO for like 8 years. I mean, why out of the blue do you take somebody out of a position that's been doing it for 8 years, especially if they're doing a good job and they're trustworthy? Why do you take somebody like that out of that position and change them out, and then immediately at the same time request not an audit but an effort? I mean, it just seems like an awful big coincidence that at the same time he removes him, swaps him, however you want to look at it, and then asks for an audit. Oops, effort. And besides the fact, like I said, that he was there for like 8 years. So, I mean, why?
Assessment. Fast forward 2 days to September 4th, and Vote Online incorporates. This one I recently found. They used it at their last event in Arizona. They collect information on voters, get you to register to vote, and they make it look like this has no association with TPUSA. But from my findings, the woman who incorporated it are employees of TPUSA. So this is definitely an interesting one to note as well. That was September 4th. Fast forward to September 6th, that is when Shillman pulls the $2 million a year donation to TPUSA because Charlie Kirk refused to cut ties with Tucker Carlson. Fast forward to September 10th, we have Charlie Kirk's assassination, and within 24 hours of Charlie...
Fireball, good old Fireball. It's not very stout, and I'm just sipping on it. It's cut down with some with ice, I'm sorry, but I've always liked it. Tastes like Big Red chewing gum.
Kirk's assassination, TPUSA's Merch LLC, well, they had 6 memorabilia shirts already up and running and ready for people to purchase. So they move fast. I personally find this incredibly distasteful. And I think that this just starts to show a pattern of behavior of greed that we're going to find throughout the thing.
Oh, lots and lots of greed. Lots and lots of greed. It's so sad.
There was no need for them to make more money. There is no need for TPUSA to make more money. They have plenty. So to do this, yeah, I just found very distasteful. Then September 12th through the 14th, we have at least four Give, Send, Go campaigns that raised over $8.
I mean, I want y'all to think about this. The very next day, not 24 hours after he lost his life in public in the worst kind of way, less than 24 hours later, they have 6 shirts up for sale, ready to order, specifically, related to that event. I mean, who was the one that thought to do that? And I'll be honest with you, I know how long stuff like that takes, especially when you're talking about, something as big as Turning Point. A lot of times processes are very slow. But to be able to put the designs together, get a purchase order together, get it sent out, get these things ordered, and have them ready to purchase, leads me to believe that there could be a chance that these shirts might have already been, in the wings somewhere. Might have already been ordered, who knows? Or at least designed, who knows? Allegedly, in Minecraft only. I don't know. I just want y'all to think about that, though. Like, that is just, I didn't catch that till here recently. That is just crazy.
$1 million for Erica Kirk and her kids within 48 hours. And then September 18th, Erica Kirk was announced as the CEO and chairman of the board of TPUSA. The audit was canceled, and within 60 days of that.
Yeah, you hold it down on X for us there, Brett. We know you got it. What's up, man?
24 TPUSA employees were fired. So that is the sequence of events that I need you to keep in mind, because I think that level sets us as far as who we're dealing with. Now I want to look at the 6 entities that we are going to talk about, that I followed the money on, that we're going to watch the money flow through and come up with our own hypothesis as far as what's going on in this organization. All right, entity 1, we're going to start with TPUSA Incorporated. That is the flagship. That is the one that most of us are familiar with. It is the 501c3 nonprofit, meaning it's not going to be politically affiliated. 501c3s cannot be. And the donor money is tax exempt, which is why it can't be politically.
Never mind the new CEO going out on stage and saying, we're going to do everything we can to get J.D. Vance elected in 2028. Hey, I'm not going to tattletale or nothing, but anyway, I guess, when you get out there on stage and do it, like who enforces these rules?
Affiliated, because politically affiliated entities don't have tax exempt donors. And when you're talking $85 million, well, that's a lot of money. TPUSA was the legal entity that Charlie Kirk founded in 2012 with $5,000 from a Wyoming oil heir in his kitchen and built it to the behemoth that it is today. Total revenue in 2024 alone was $84 million, and it has surpassed $100 million apparently after his assassination. This entity also reported 67 vendors that made over.
And they say Candace Owens is making money off of Charlie Kirk's death. Like, what in the hell? The hypocrisy of these people. Like, they have no self-awareness. Like, look in the God-blessed mirror.
$100,000 in 20.
I mean, Jesus. They were selling hats at his damn memorial. I mean, they're setting up a replica tent of the one that he was killed under at events. But Candace Owens is making money off of Charlie's death.
24 alone. You have to report your top 5. We will get into those. But that left 62 vendors making over $100,000 that donors don't know, watchdog know, they can't see where that money is going, who it's going to, or what it's doing. And that's a very interesting and large gap in the financials that we will want to look at. Entity 2 is Turning Point Action. That is the 501c4 political arm of Turning Point. So donations are not tax exempt. This is the entity that runs the ground operations right now. They have headquartered out of Las Vegas, Nevada. That is new. Tyler Boyer runs the operation. They do the ballot harvesting. They do the voter contact, the chase the vote operation that the FEC examined in 2024 over alleged in-kind coordination with the Trump campaign. That's all part of this. So it doesn't surprise me that Tyler Boyer is running it because, well, he's shady, in my opinion. All right. And then to the far right, we have America's Turning Point. And
Like really shady.
Entity 3, they are another 501c3. This one is really interesting to me. When I saw it, it looked like a shell 501c3 to me, which I was like, huh, that's weird. I've never seen that before. Always a first. They are the grant making affiliate. Most of their money that is raised passes through to a downstream entity called Campus Victory Project, and the trail ends there.
I don't want to give them any ideas or anything. I really don't. But they do the that on that whole clock tower and Faith by Works, all that, the geotagging and all the pro-Israel bullshit that they're now a part of. They're doing this virtual October 7th experience where you put on VR headset, and you get to experience being there and getting all shot up and watching people die. Anyway, it's pretty sick stuff, but it wouldn't surprise me at some point they wouldn't start this whole, whatever, I don't know what they would call it, but a Charlie Kirk, last moments, experience, whatever, something to against the quote unquote left, that killed him. I don't know. I could just see them doing it. I'm into politics and everything, but they are so political and make everything political. It's just ridiculous. But yeah, it just wouldn't surprise me. Like I said, not trying to give anybody any ideas. Hopefully they don't do something like that, but it would not surprise me at all with these sickos.
But it doesn't matter because in 2018, 2019, this is the entity that paid Clock Tower for a research project.
Clock Tower, see? Mm-hmm.
They paid them $999,000 some odd dollars, right under the $1 million threshold, for a research project for education purposes. No one ever saw that output or whatever they came up with. And you'd think if you gave someone $1 million to do a research project that, wow, the findings would be out there. You'd want to showcase them. No, never. No one ever heard from them. And then in 2022, it dissolved. And then Clock Tower X stands up, which we'll get into.
That's like a lot of stuff in our federal government, They take all those tax dollars and they fund all these things. And for some reason, it's like all that money just goes into a black hole. Nobody ever sees or hears from it again.
The FAR registration, the one that Brad Pasquale founded, the one that stole Charlie Kirk's idea, in my opinion, to target Gen Z. There's a lot of shady things around it. So I found it very interesting that rewind a few years, and this one, Clock Tower, was paid $1 million by Turning Point to do a research project that never came. So another fun fact about America's Turning Point is that it's the one that in 2023 had $3.9 million in payroll and no employees. This entire entity.
No employees. Even their payroll was being fed into that black hole.
He is a huge red flag, and these guys aren't even good at hiding it. So there we go. That's my opinion. All right, let's go to the endowment. So entity 4, we have the Turning Point Endowment. That is another 501c3 supporting organization, $64.3 million in assets. But none of these assets are in a checking account. Okay, no. They are parked in private equity. A student activism nonprofit, $64.3 million parked in private equity. Another interesting point about this one is that in 2020, it was $7.2 million in the endowment. And by 2024, so just 4 years later, we're looking at $64.3 million.
Somebody doing some really, really smart investing.
Yeah. I would love to see this one. Are we having fun yet, guys? Because it's like you can't even make this stuff up. All right. Entity 5, we have the Turning Point USA PAC. This one's the
I know, like every time I stick money in the bank, I can just let it sit there and not spend any of it, and somehow or another it ends up getting whittled down. I've got less than what I started with. These guys put in what, $7 million, and next thing you know, they got almost 65. Like, what the hell?
This one's fun. It's the Political Action Committee that raised 7 point some odd million dollars in the 2024 election cycle and contributed $85,000 to candidates. So
All that money going in and only $85,000. Ain't that crazy? But they had to pay payroll, you know? Really big payrolls.
So the entire purpose of raising money for a PAC is to give it to the candidates, but it raised 7 point whatever million and only 85,000 went to the candidates. So I'm wondering where the other $7.125 million went. I'd love that to be explained too, but
I think that's a fair question. What do y'all think? Again, like I said, I mean, yeah, Charlie paid himself a good salary, whatever. He worked his ass off. But, you know, I don't think he realized the extent of what was going on there. I just don't.
if we could ever be so lucky. And guys, we're only scratching the bare surface of this, and you can already start to see what is happening across all of these organizations and how shady it is. All right, the last entity that I want to bring to our attention, only because it creates all the apps for TPUSA, is Superfeed Technologies. This one was founded December 31st, actually,
We know who that is. That's old mom-in-law.
2018, just a few months after Erica Kirk and Charlie Kirk started dating. So the chairman of the board is Tyler Boyer.
And, of course, Tyler, you know, who basically built the company. So basically, all of these shady SOBs that were around Charlie, best I can tell, most of them were recruited by Tyler. I mean, his wife was recruited by Tyler. So, I've got questions for Tyler and about Tyler.
And Erica's mom, Lori Franzway, sits on the board. So the registered subsidiary is in Israel, and the man who founded it, in my opinion, from my research, is Israeli, and he lives in Israel. We'll get into that. We
Imagine that.
have 6 separate entities with 6 separate forms and 1 operation. The combined financial flow across those 6 organizations in 1 year is over $135 million. The flagship 501c3s send grants to the 501c4. The 501c4 sends grants to the 501c3. The 501c3 sends grants to the grant-making affiliate. The grant-making affiliate sends those grants to a downstream Campus Victory project. The C3 sends money to the endowment. The endowment sends money back. Each transfer changes the regulatory category of that money. When I started to look across the 6 entities, how from $1 to another and how it was diluted, I started to really capture what was going on. And yeah, I think that there are so many red flags in what we're looking at. What I want to do now is look at 5 of the most glaring red flags that jumped out at me when I was following the money.
Y'all better sit down. Here we go. I ain't even seen it yet, but I know it's going to be good.
I don't start an investigation out with a hypothesis. I think that skews your results. You have to come in and look at everything and then say, okay, here's my hypothesis. And that's what I did. So if you open the 2024 990, we have the top 5 independent contractors from 2024 that were paid out by TPUSA. The largest single vendor on the form is a company called Resource One International, and it's headquartered in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's printing, publication, educational materials, okay? Over $6 million is what they were paid. Keep that in mind. We'll scroll on down here to part 9 of the same form. And part 9 is the functional expense breakdown. It's a different kind of disclosure. What we just looked at with the vendors tells you who the money went to. But part 9 tells us what the money was actually spent on by category across program services and management combined. So the printing and publication line, as you can see, is $1.3 million. So I was like, that's interesting. They paid 6 point some odd million to Resource One for printing and publication. So I pulled the thread a little further. Well, Resource One is a subsidiary of a political fundraising conglomerate called the Moore Group. The Moore Group's headquartered in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they have 33 subsidiaries. Some of those subsidiaries in the Moore Group operate under names like Resource
33 subsidiaries. Like, what in the hell?
One Fundraising, so that's funny. Altus Marketing. They're not printing companies. They're direct response fundraising shops. Conrad Direct, that you can also see in the list of top 5 vendors, that's also a Moore Group subsidiary, so that's fun. And they're in the top 5 contractors. Same year, they were paid $1.4 million for the same type of stuff. So in 2024, 2 Moore Group subsidiaries got $7 some million to do what for TPUSA? None of them were disclosed by their parent name. I thought that was interesting. And none of it is accounted for under the category in which the fundraising actually occurs. You're like, Leah, that doesn't matter. Like, they reported it, right? But here's why categorization matters. The program spending ratio is the single number that the watchdog party rating sites look at when they let donors know if their money is being used efficiently or not. The math is simple. You take what you spend on programs and you divide by your total expenses. The bigger the number, the more efficient your charity looks. Fundraising costs are not supposed to count towards that ratio, so they go in a different bucket and they reduce the program spending ratio when properly categorized. If a charity is booking direct response fundraising work as printing or publication, the program spending ratio that donors are looking at is overstated by millions of dollars. This is a red flag. This is red flag 1. All right, let's go into red flag 2, America's Turning Point. This is different 990, different EIN, different entity. It's the grant-making affiliate, $16.7 million
I think America's Turning Point is Tyler Boyer, if I'm not mistaken.
in revenue. If you look at their 2023 filing, we have salaries and wages at $3.7 million. Okay, great. Making jobs, right? Woohoo. But now we're going to scroll up to part 1, and we're going to look at the number of individual employees.
What's up, Keza? How you doing? Good to see you in the chat.
And that's 0.
Thanks for coming and hanging out.
So you have $3.7 million in salaries and wages and 0 employees. Someone messed up. So there are a small number of plausible explanations that you could have 0 employees and $3.7 million in your tax return. One being that the organization could have paid contractors and incorrectly booked them under salary and wages. 2, the organization could have paid staff who were technically employed by one of their affiliated entities. And 3, they could have just made a clerical error of $3.7 million on their IRS filing. From the form, we can't tell what's true. But let's look at the following year and see if we can make sense of it. All right, so if we look at this line, we have $4.3 million the following year. And if we scroll up to the top, we will see 108 employees. So they went from 0 employees and 3.7 million to 4.3-ish and 108 employees. And the only one named on the form is Tyler Boyer.
They went on a hiring spree and obviously not paying them shit.
$230,000. So they go from 0 to 108 employees in 12 months at a single TPUSA family entity. The same entity that the year before, they claimed 3.7 or some odd million dollars to nobody. But of those 108 people, one of them is listed on the form. The other 107, who knows who they are? And based on the behavior from the previous year, I find that to be a very interesting jump. So in 2 consecutive years at a single
Yeah, Bree, just a snafu.
USA entity, you have $7 to $8 million going out the door to 0 employees and then 108. And you can't identify any of the people by name or who's receiving it except for Tyler Boyer. That's red flag 2. Definitely red flag 2 for me. All right, red flag 3 for me is going to be the vendors on TPUSA. All right, let's take it back to our big flagship TPUSA for red flag 3. We're going to look at the vendor section. So you can see the table with the 5 vendors. That's what we've looked at before. And it has a line, number 2. And you can see where it asks the organization to say, hey, how many vendors do you have making over 100K? I know we only make you report 5, but how many do you have over 100K? And you can see here that they list 67 in 2024. So that means that 62 vendors are making over $100,000 are not accounted for. We don't know who it's going to, what they're making, what it's being spent on, nothing. And I find that to be a huge red flag. In 2019, this number of vendors was 11. By 2024, we have 67. The contractor count grew 6 times, but the revenue from 2020 to 2024 grew 3. Contractors' population grew twice as fast as the revenue. And when we get into the next episode about the
Sounds like somebody's just writing random numbers down, in my opinion. I mean, honestly, I see no true rhyme or reason to it.
The employees and the double dipping in their own LLC.
Thank you, Bree. Thank you. Thank you.
It's really going to start to connect what these 62 might be doing. I would expect ATK Media to be one of the other 62. That's Andrew Colvette's media company. I would expect another 20 LLCs that are running in and out of those employees at TPUSA to be in there, but we won't know. And I do feel like it's by design. All right, red flag 4, we are going to talk about Andrew Colvette. I talked about it in depth in my first podcast, but the fact that he is the director of communications, PR director, and ProPublica found that.
And let me tell you, he is bad at his job. That has got to be the worst PR person in the world. But I tell you what, I'm starting to wonder, especially with a lot of the stuff that Barron's been coming out about Andrew. I'm starting to wonder if a lot of the PR blunders aren't actually blunders at all. I wonder if from the get-go, he thought he was going to be the natural choice. And when Erica got put in there, I could be totally wrong. This is just my opinion. But it almost seems like ever since then, he has done everything in his power to make her look dumb and make the company look bad. That is just my opinion. Now, she doesn't need a whole lot of help, but he has not been helping her steer away from, the dumb shit.
He made $255,000 a year. He's not named in any of the 990s anywhere. ATK Media, his media group, nowhere. And so that, to me, is a red flag. How is he being paid and through what?
Which to me anyway, makes me wonder how much he knew and how much he may have possibly allegedly been involved in planning his stuff out from the get-go. You never know. Maybe not. But makes me wonder.
Through what avenue? Because it's a red flag to me that he's not on any of these 990s, and neither is his payment.
Yes, Hall Monitor. Yes, please. Y'all remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you, Miss Susan. Thank you. Thank you.
He also owns an over $1 million home. And how did he pay for it?
That's right, Kez. He probably had to be involved in her outfit the other night, all looking like some kind of a robber or something, which is, kind of what it seems like, maybe allegedly she is anyway.
These are the questions that just aren't
He's like, just go out there and look natural.
adding up. So sometimes it's not what's in the 990, sometimes it's what's not in the 990. And that's the case here for red flag 4 form. All right, red flag 5 is going to be what we talked about in the very beginning. It's going to be the audit part. So if you scroll down the form, you can see where we're at now in section 9. Line 2A says, were the financial statements audited by an independent accountant? Pretty easy, right? And TPUSA answered no. So this answer is sworn under penalty of perjury by the treasurer, $1 million organization of donor money, and they're not independently audited. The audit firm of record for TPUSA before this disclosure changed was a firm called the Stapleton Group, and it's headquartered in Illinois. Stapleton's audit license under Illinois law expired in late 2018, and that license matters because under the relevant Illinois statute, a firm with an expired license cannot legally conduct independent audits of public charities. But
makes you just want to go, like, what the hell?
But that didn't stop Stapleton. They continued to sign off on TPUSA filings after their license expired. Then there was a separate conflict that is also on the public.
I'm sure that was just an accident too.
record. Bill Montgomery, the co-founder of TPUSA with Charlie Kirk, he died in 2020 of COVID, but he was at one point the business development advisor for the Stapleton Group. Montgomery, in other words, brought clients to an audit firm that audited his own organization. He was being paid by the firm whose independence a donor giving money to TPUSA is relying on. And the firm's managing partner, in turn, prepared Bill Montgomery's personal taxes too. And that is the auditor that donors trusted for years. But
imagine that.
Montgomery died in 2020 of COVID-19 complications, and at some point after his death, TPUSA quietly changed audit firms. The new auditor of record is Baker Tilly. Baker Tilly is a legitimate national accounting firm.
Baker Tilly, probably one of the dirtiest, I mean, worst auditing firms out there, allegedly. Don't be Baker Tilly.
Baker Tilly has audited the consolidated financial statements of Turning Point USA Inc. and its affiliates up until their most recent ones that we have. That audit report is publicly filed with the New Mexico Attorney General's Charitable Solicitation Registry. So there we have it. We have laid out all of the entities. We have laid out the 5 red flags, the 5 things on the first day that would stop any competent accountant in their tracks, in my opinion. All right, so now let's look at how it all connects. It's my favorite part. We've just put a lot of pieces together. Now let's stand back and look at the so what. What does it mean? I'm going to show you what the 5 doorways look like when you stand back and see them all at the same time. So here's the basic pipeline. You have your donors that come in, then you flow the money through your 6 entities, and they flow the money through each other. And then they go out through the following channels. Pipe 1 of the money, we have the donor side. TPUSA has raised approximately $385 million since its inception. Of this total, roughly $327 million came through anonymous channels. 5 out of every $6 that TPUSA has ever raised came through pipes designed to hide who provided them. The largest of those pipes are donor-advised funds, the one at the top left. A donor-advised fund is a charitable.
I wonder if any of those that, couldn't be identified could possibly maybe have some, Israeli ties or back in her. You never know.
Account at a sponsor charity. The wealthy donor places money into the account and they take a tax deduction in that year. They then direct the grants to other charities later anonymously. The sponsor charity becomes the legal donor of record, and the actual person whose money it is becomes invisible to the receiving charity.
Wonder if they could be maybe possibly Israeli or Israeli adjacent.
The Bradley Impact Fund, run by the Bradley Foundation,
I doubt it. Surely not.
Has channeled $23.6 million to TPUSA over the years. Donor Trust, the conservative DAF, has channeled $6.2 million. Combined, those 2 pipes alone account for roughly $27.9 million in TPUSA receipts. The donors behind that money are anonymous to the form, to the auditor.
Awful lot of anonymous funders here. Awful lot of anonymous dollars going in. Awful lot of anonymous people that are that have a say in the goings on of the company and the direction it goes. And that's awful. That's awful convenient. That's awful convenient when you have people jerking their money and threatening him and trying to, like he said, in his words, emotionally blackmail him. Yeah, when your money and when you are anonymous, I'd say you probably it probably gives you really big balls. Let's put it that way.
For the journalists, another $62 million is from named donors. So the Marcus Foundation, that's founded by the Home Depot guy, he's given $5 million plus. The Perlmutter Foundation, run by an Israeli American, Isaac Perlmutter, I think is his name, he's given $1.25 million. Then Richard Line, through the Ed Uehlein Foundation, he's given $2.2. The Mercer family, they routed through Donors Trust. They contributed almost $1 million. Then Foster Friess, the Wyoming oil heir who wrote the original $5,000 check in 2012, gave additional money over the years. And then we have Robert Shillman, an electronics fortune. He pledged $2 million a year and then pulled that pledge on September 6, 2025. Miriam Adelson, the largest single pro-Israel political donor in the U.S., has contributed amounts that aren't publicly disclosed. And then Paul Singer, the hedge fund billionaire and major pro-Israel funder, the same. So I'm going to bet money on it that it's a lot. She probably didn't like when Charlie Kirk was talking about leaving the Israel cause.
I can guarantee you. I mean, look, when Trump was speaking in the, oh Lord, what's it called? The Knesset, isn't that what it's called? Their version of like Congress or whatever. When he was speaking there, he was all laughing and joking, talking about how she's an American citizen and she loves America, but, I think she loves Israel more. Everybody knows that's the case. So I'm sure she didn't like it at all when he was talking about abandoning the cause.
So Just something interesting to think about. So we have $327 million in anonymous pipes and $62 million in identified ones. In a future episode, we are going to walk through the donor side in detail. All right, pipe 3 of the money in is new. As of September 2025, this is really interesting. The Foreign Agent Registration Act database accepted a registration from Brad Parscale. He was the campaign manager for Donald Trump. And the entity, Clock Tower X, LLC. Remember how we were going through and looking at Clock Tower in the research project? Well, now we have Clock Tower X. Registered as a foreign agent of the State of Israel via the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And the contract was for more than $6 million. The deliverables included integration with Salem Media Network properties, as Media Network is the company that distributes the Charlie Kirk show. So in the same window in which Charlie Kirk was being pressured by donors.
Not only that, I mean, like Sebastian Gorka's show, Officer Talmud Tatum's show, the list goes on and on and on. Just about all of the pro-Israel diehard MAGA shills. And don't get me wrong, look, I was a Trump person, and I'll be the first to admit I'm not just super satisfied with what my ROI is right now, my return on investment. But either way, yeah, but you have these diehards that just will not criticize no matter what. A lot of those guys, yeah, they're Salem Media Group.
To remove Tucker Carlson over his Israel coverage. An Israeli government-funded contract was using the show's distribution network as a delivery channel for the same messaging. We will go into this in our future episodes, but for tonight, just register that the FARA contract is on public record. It's documented, and you can go look it up. Now let's follow the money in. It enters through the C3 and the C4 mostly. The flagships, 501c3, which takes the largest share of the donor money, sits at the top of the structure. And then we have the 501c4 Turning Point Action that sits right next to it. The two of them then move money downstream to the smaller entities through grants, and they're all reported on their Schedule I. At least they're supposed to be. In 2024 alone, the 501c3 sent $8.5 million to the grant-making affiliate. America's Turning Point then sent $7.84 million downstream to Campus Victory Project. And the trail ends there. The Campus Victory Project is itself a separate filing entity with its own donors, its own activities, its own board, everything. Interesting, huh? The 990 of TPUSA Inc. doesn't show in detail what the Campus Victory Project does with the money once it arrives. From the donor's perspective, that trail goes through 3 nonprofits and then disappears. Separately, the 501c3 sent $1.5 million to the endowment in the same year, and the endowment sent 1.2 back. You see what they're doing? They're just transferring money to each other. And this is what we call a layered flow problem. It is not by itself evidence of any wrongdoing. It is a structural feature of the way large family nonprofit ecosystems are designed. All right, last, let's follow the money out. So we have Exit Channel 1, we have vendor payments. The top 5 named contractors at TPUSA Inc. took in roughly $15 million in 2024 alone.
And we all know most of those top contractors are all, run by, owned by whatever CEOs are Turning Point USA people, like Tyler Boyer and Andrew Colvett and stuff. So double dipping is, I guess, a nice way of putting it. Stacey Sheridan, she's got that line rock and all that. So
62 more contractors book an additional $20 million or more in undisclosed names. Resource One alone collected $6.1 million, and Mosaic Event Productions, the Phoenix-based event company that produces America Fest and the live broadcast environment of the Charlie Kirk show, they collected $3.6 million. And then we had others that we looked at, Conrad Direct. All of those vendors are worth looking into. Across the 501c3 and 501c4 combined, vendor payments dwarf personnel costs. So the names matter. All right, Exit Channel 2, which we did not get into in this episode, but it will be the next episode, are the insider compensation and LLCs. There are at least 7 named senior staff members operating personal LLCs that have collectively received at least $15.2 million from the same nonprofits paying their salaries.
Yep, that's what I was talking about. Double dipping.
Stacey Sheridan and her 3
See, I know my shit.
LLCs that I found across 6 states. Joshua Thefault, I think that's how you say his name. And he has Blue Mountain Strategies. Jake Hoffman and Rally Forge and 110. Benny Johnson and Arsenal Media Group.
110 is the one that Zach from Wolves and Finance was so hard on about the about the I think it was a FedEx box or whatever that his business was listed to in that parking lot with not like a strip mall.
Bill Montgomery and the printing company that the audit firm later did the books for. Tom Sadiqa, the treasurer who certifies the 990, and Precision Payroll, the payroll vendor that he owns. And then John McGovern, listed as manager and outside fundraiser, paid in both capacities in the same year. Same person, two paychecks from related entities. And we didn't even talk about Andrew Colvette. He's not even in there because I couldn't find him on the 990s to determine where he gets paid from. Exit Channel 3, we have the for-profit shells. We have Resolute Media, which is that Florida LLC company that's been monetizing the daily 3-hour Charlie Kirk show owned by the three top officers. We have ATK Media Incorporated, the California corporation owned by Andrew Colvette. And we have TPUSA Merch LLC, the related taxable corporation that sells the merchandise, including the 6 memorial t-shirts that hit the store within 24 hours of Charlie Kirk's assassination.
There it was. Did y'all hear that? There it is again. The 6 shirts that were available within 24 hours of his assassination. I mean, it would be hard for somebody to convince me that they did not have an idea on those shirts before September the 10th. That is just my opinion, not stating it as fact, allegedly, but good God, how do you do that in that little time?
And then GGLF, which is the insurance that was taken out on Charlie Kirk in 2023. That's a Wyoming LLC. All right, so we have 3 pipes in, 6 entities in the middle, and then 3 exit channels, 5 red flags spread across that structure. Now I want to give you the single most important architectural sentence in this entire file of this entire podcast. If you have made it this far, thank you so much. If I were a witness on the stand and the prosecutor asked me to pick one finding to put before a jury, this is the one I would pick. 3 of the most senior people in the organization, Charlie Kirk, Andrew Colvette, and Tyler Boyer, are the sole members of a for-profit LLC, Resolute Media. This LLC has been using TPUSA's name and likeness to run a 3-hour radio show. Resolute Media is nowhere on any of the forms. If Resolute Media paid TPUSA $0, then donor-funded brand work was used to build a revenue stream that did not return to the nonprofit. And the IRS has a name for that, and it's called private inurement. It's grounds for revocation of a tax-exempt status. You either didn't pay or you did and you messed up the filing. Which one is it? I don't know. There's lots of red flags, so it doesn't matter. But so today was part 1, and it was looking at the overall architecture of what we're going to be diving into, and it was calling out the red flags. Here's the thing I want to leave you with. The audit that Charlie Kirk asked for, the Doge-like assessment on September 2nd, 2020.
God bless it. Get it right. Doge-style effort.
25 did not die with him. It can be conducted at any time by any office with jurisdiction. The IRS Exempt Organizations Division, the Arizona, Illinois, California State Attorney Generals, the FEC, the Senate Finance Committee on Tax Exempt Oversight, the Wyoming Secretary of State, or the DOJ's FARA, even though we know that one would never happen. Each of these offices separately has the authority to demand the documents that we can't pull. They can demand bank statements, operating agreements, vendor invoices, the Resolute Media revenue waterfall.
They can. But will they? Huh. I think we all know the answer to that. They can. We all know they never will.
ATK Media tax filings.
I will post that in the description. I meant to do that last time. I meant to do it this time. But if I will make sure and post it. Yes, I will. I will do that. If y'all will check the description either here later on or tomorrow, worst case, it'll be in there. I will as soon as I get done here, I'll drop it in the description. Okay, guys?
America's Turning Point payroll register, conflict of interest policy.
I sure will, Miss Susan.
See that TPUSA's lawyers refused to give to ProPublica, but none of those offices have acted yet as of the recording of this episode. But it doesn't mean they won't, and it doesn't mean that we can't convince them that there is something worth looking into. Until they do, though, this series is public record version of the audit.
And that applies to all of this, everything Charlie Kirk investigation related. You know, a lot of your Gary Meltons of the world, you know, on all those people, they call names and everything, and you know. They always say how we're wasting our time, you know, and also that we're not law enforcement and, we can't really, and they have a point there. But we are no longer in the JFK days, the MLK days, RFK days. And people are starting to wake up, and more people are looking into this, I think, than they ever imagined. And so I think our only hope is going to be put enough pressure on these people and win. And I feel like he will. I mean, listen to Lionel, he's pretty confident. But when he gets acquitted or whatever, when Tyler Robinson gets acquitted, then everybody needs to stand up and demand that they get their asses out there and do the job that we pay them to do and find out who really did it and then bring them to justice.
There's going to be a few more episodes, room by room, that we'll build. Next week in episode 2, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, Gary from Paramount Non-Factional. I'd messed that up. Sorry.
We're going to talk about where the money goes and dive really deep into some of these vendors because boy, oh boy, are they shady. I'm Leah. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, and I will see you guys next week.
Well, there we go, guys. How was that? I tell you what, she is just full of good information. Talk about a researcher. My God. She has just done amazing work. Zach from Wolves in Finance, he done some really good work too, but it only went so far. And he did his 30-minute video or however 40-minute long video, but she is definitely going above and beyond. She's definitely taking it to the next level. So she is something else. Hey, there's Mystic. She dropped in. I'm glad you stopped by to say, hey, hope you're feeling better. And if not, I hope you're feeling better real soon. Yeah, I will definitely make sure and drop. Matter of fact, you know what? I'm still going to put it in the description, but hold on. Let me just pull that real quick. Let's see. Okay. I'll go ahead and drop it in the chat, and then I'll make sure and put it in the, I'll make sure I put it in the description also. Okay, copy link. There you go. Queen Mystic. There you go. There you go. Does. Yeah. Hey, I meant to ask y'all earlier. Am I glitching out on y'all? Because it's doing it on my end, but nobody said anything in the chat, so I didn't know if it's just doing it on my end or if it's doing it on y'all's end too. Like it just glitches every now and then. Let me see. I'm going to also, like I said, I will definitely add that into the description. Let's see. Sorry, guys. Hold, please. Hold, please. Almost done. Let's see. Okay. There we go. I bet that other link doesn't work. I don't know why it appears that it only did the Twitch stream. Why, I don't know, but I just dropped it in there. All right, y'all guys, see if y'all can grab it there. Hopefully that'll work for y'all. I believe it will. Yeah. Oh, it is glitching? Dang. Well, I'll have to check that out. I'm not sure. I didn't want to mess with it since it was working, and I figured nobody said anything. So I guess y'all were just being polite, which I appreciate. Anyway, at least you could hear me, you know. There's nothing worse than having sound problems. That's the worst. So anyway, holy Lord, I got behind. I got way behind. Mystic's got her own followers. Yup. Man, if she was to start putting out content on YouTube, she'd have thousands just, I mean, right away, immediately. It wouldn't take her no time to get a big old following. Good deal. Good deal. Thank you, Keza. All right, guys. I am going to call it, I think. I am going to try to go live in the morning. I should be. I hadn't 100% decided on what I'm going to talk about, so there may just be a generic thumbnail. I may have to wing it. Everybody says they kind of like it when I wing it. So we'll just have to see. There's plenty to talk about, so, you know. I plan on being live at 9 o'clock Central. So y'all just check your notifications when you get up in the morning and see if y'all got a notification for it, because I do plan on it. So anyway, guys, I appreciate y'all showing up. I didn't think there'd be quite as many people as there are here, but it was kind of last minute and late. But y'all really turned out for me, and I really appreciate it. That's awesome. Like I said, I know y'all miss, or I hope y'all miss me as much as I missed y'all. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and cut out of here. Please like the video, share all the platforms, you know, any social medias you got, share. Tell people that you know to come in and hit that like button. Please, if y'all are not subscribed, y'all please subscribe. And yeah, anybody, yes, I hope so, Keza. We will definitely be seeing you around. And thank you for our new chatters. Thank y'all very much for showing up. Bree and 44 Glenn, awesome seeing y'all tonight. Brett, obviously, you the man. You're welcome. We'll be seeing you around. I'll talk to you later, guys. If anybody does want to help out financially, I have my 3 links posted in the description. Depending on what your favorite flavor is, I got Cash App, I got PayPal and Venmo. Every little bit helps, but again, the biggest support is showing up like y'all did tonight. But yeah, so I'm gonna get out of here. Hopefully see y'all guys in the morning. Regardless, I will see y'all right back here real soon. Y'all have a good night.